Welcome back. Of course, it's still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. Now, last week, a report came out, a shocking one indeed, a revelation by Paradigm Initiative finding out that several unauthorized websites were claiming to hold and provide access and sensitive personal and financial data of Nigerian citizens, some for as little as 100 naira, which shocked a lot of Nigerians. I mean, previously something like that had come out, but I don't know how that went. And this one has been responded to. I mean, the NIMC has responded to this, telling Nigerians that, oh, this is, there's no data from the NIMC website giving to any unauthorized person or organization. So on the show today, we'll be talking to Adeboye Adegoke, who's the Senior Manager, Grants and Program Strategy Paradigm Initiative. And the discussion, of course, will be on data protection for Nigerians, the findings by Paradigm Initiative on the alleged site giving out personal data for a fee as little as 100 naira. Hello, Mr. Adeboye Adegoke. Thank you for joining us on the morning brief.
Good morning.
So tell us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's begin by finding out how exactly this came to be, finding and giving data out to unauthorized persons. What did your findings get?
All right, thank you very much. When it comes to giving out data, you know that historically Nigerians have been asked many times to provide data by a lot of government institutions. So you're looking at NIMC, for example, for our NIN. You're looking at CBN for our bank verification numbers. You're looking at the immigration for passports, INEC for PVCs, and you can go on and on and on. So there have been that data mining exercise that has been carried out by several Nigerian government agencies for different reasons. So that is on one part. On the other part is that as an organization, Paradigm Initiative has been at the forefront of, interrogating the security of those data and also what government is doing in terms of ensuring that there is adequate safeguards protection around some of these data that are now being held by multiple government agencies. In the early days of the government of the immediate past President Buhari, he did make a policy statement demanding that there should be some harmonization of those data in order to, limit the proliferation of this data and all of that. But to fast forward to the recent discovery about which was trending late last week on social media, is that a few months ago there was a discovery of a website called Anyverify. This website was offering to provide access to the NIN data, that is the national identity number and the virtual NIN, for a fee. And it was one online newspaper that exposed that. I did an investigative work around that, Fiji specifically. And in response to that, we reached out to the relevant government stakeholders to say that what are you doing about this issue? How are you ensuring that anyone found culpable or responsible for this are held accountable? And we were assured at the time by the Nigerian Data Protection Commission that they were investigating the issue, and they were as well even investigating other entities offering the same service. And barely 2 months after, we discovered on our own through research that there is another entity, in this case, Anyverify. That's the name of the entity, Anyverify, that offers to sell not just NIN data, PVC data, BVN data, even immigration data, for anybody, anyone whosoever that is interested in having this data. You can pay 100 naira to access this data. And in order not to come, to the public with unverified information, we decided to carry out an experiment. So we delegated some entity to try and go to those websites and try to, access this data as has been advertised. And to our, we were shocked to find out that all you need to do is to provide a phone number and to pay certain that 100 naira. And if you need the NIN of any entity in Nigeria, whoever it is, it will not just give you the person's NIN, it will give you the person's NIN slip. So what we saw that you can get an entire NIN slip, and on that NIN slip, what are the information that are there? You have the national identity number, you have the virtual identity number, you have the home address of the fellow, you also have their picture, their full name. Now, why this is also interesting is that we also deliberately limited our search to public official because we are also trying to avoid putting information of, private Nigerians out there. So what we discover is that even the Data Protection Commissioner for Nigeria, his name slip was available for 100 naira. The Minister for Communication and Digital Innovation, his name was available for 100 naira, and we demonstrated this to the press just last week. It wasn't so. We are not just saying something that we have not thoroughly investigated, and that was really shocking. It was really shocking for us. And maybe before I come back to you, let me quickly mention the fact that we have also seen the response by the National Identity Management Commission assuring Nigeria that their data are secured and all of that. And for me, I think that was very disappointing. It doesn't demonstrate a level of responsibility required from an institution like that when an issue like this has come to the public, because that statement did not in any way address the issue that has been, brought to the fore. But I hope that they will take it more seriously, because if we have not even shared all the information we have. And by the time we do, we realize that we need to do more to protect data in Nigeria.
Well, I was going to ask you about that NIMC's reply, because they have already said, they didn't give any institution and authority to use data from anyone. But does it stop at that? Should it stop at that? And if it shouldn't, what should they be doing? What is the necessary step, the immediate step that NIMC should be taking at this time?
All right. So the first thing I'm going to say is that statement, or the claim that they did not give data to any entity, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but it's not true. It's a lie. And I'm happy to provide further evidence when necessary. However, what I had expected from NIMC when this kind of issue came up was that they should have taken their time to investigate, do some soul searching internally to understand why this is coming from. Because even for us that are external stakeholders, we've done a lot of research. We have established a link between these people selling this data and National Identity Management Commission. So seeing that statement, it was very disappointing, because we do understand, because this exercise is not about NIMC. The work we are doing is not just about NIMC. It's about the data governance ecosystem generally in Nigeria. So it's not about making an organization or an institution look bad. It's about protecting the data and the privacy rights of Nigeria. So NIMC coming out to save face, or just because they want to look good, it is not helping the conversation. It's also showing that they are not taking responsibility and they are not doing what they are supposed to do. You had asked the question, what should they be doing? For example, they should have properly investigated the issue and see if there is potentially a link between them and this entity, because we have been able to, without doubt, identify that there is actually a link between NIMC and this entity. But we'll get to that later. Now, if they had done that, maybe that statement they put out, they will have probably rethink it before they do that. What I would have expected them to do is to promise Nigeria that they are going to, investigate the issue and bring culprits to book, whether it is an internal culprit or an external culprit. Because what we have found out, there is no way those people have those data without an internal collaborator, either officially or unofficially. There is an internal collaborator, because as a matter of fact, what we have found out is even not an official collaboration. What we have found out is not an unofficial collaboration. What we have found out is actually an official collaboration between NIMC and this entity. So it's surprising that it came out to deny it. And we're happy to prove that there is actually a link between NIMC and these entities.
Well, Mr. Adeboye, interesting. And, that was where I was headed. But you just took it straight out of my mind, because despite NIMC's repeated assurances that Nigerians' data have not been compromised, we're seeing this yet again, and the story is as old as about 3 months old now. Now, is it possible that this data breach is also as a result of what is being reported as an undersea cable cut that has also led to, a shutdown or a breakdown of the systems of communications agencies? And by the way, I have visited Anyverify.com, but the website is not loading. I wonder if you've made that observation in recent times. Has that happened only in the last 24 hours as a result of your investigation?
Absolutely. So let me start from the cable cut. There is definitely no link between the cable cuts and the data breach we are discussing. It has no link at all. However, checking the website, we are aware since Saturday actually, that the website is no longer loading, and we are not surprised because the first breach that was reported by Fitch, immediately the news came into the public. That was the same thing that happened. The website was taken down. That was the one with the Anyverify. So one of the things we did in this investigation is that before we came public with it, we knew that they were going to take the website down once the issue becomes public. So we have already archived the website. So there is no hiding. Wow. We have archived the website as evidence that website existed, because if anybody tries to go to that website now, they will not find it because they will try to hide their track. But it's also very important to say that the way this kind of data breach or this monumental level of breach could have happened is because, number one, not just NIMC. I don't want us to narrow this conversation to NIMC, but I guess because NIMC has been the only organization that has officially responded, so they have to come up a lot. But before we can have that kind of data breach, it must have been that either somebody internally has made those data available or someone externally gain access to those data. But I don't think that is the case. From our own findings, this is what we found out. Now, NIMC has licensees, people that they have licensed to provide certain services using some data that NIMC has. So some of those services are verification services. So for example, you want to hire a housemaid, you want to hire a driver. So one of the things that people do these days is that before you hire a stranger into your home, you want to verify their identity. So there are identity verification services, and those who provide those services are ideally supposed to be licensed by NIMC. So that's the first layer. Now, within that architecture, a lot of things could go wrong. It could go wrong in the sense that if the licensee, for example, are not subjected to certain standards of practices that ensures that they are limited to the services they are supposed to provide to the public. If also there are no certain standards around what information they should be making available to people who come to maybe verify information about their new recruits, their new employee, there might also be a leak that will come out of that. As I was saying earlier, we found a link between this entity and NIMC, for example. So our suspicion is that either this leak happened because the entity did not meet certain requirements or has not operated at the highest level of standard that is expected of them, or maybe NIMC themselves have not really created a strong system of accountability, of safeguards or standard setting that ensure that those that they have licensed are operating at the highest level of security and data protection possible. So for example, in NIMC's response, the statement that NIMC released, they had said things like, oh, we have the highest level of certification in terms of data security. And when I saw that, I laughed, because let me demonstrate what that apparently means. So I'm in this your complex at Channels TV, and I've kept and there are some valuables that have been kept within Channels TV. And then I saw some of those valuables in the open market or on the street of Abuja, and I now came out and said, what are these valuables doing on the street of Abuja? They are supposed to be kept in the premises of Channels TV. Then Channels TV releases a statement to say that, we have the highest security door. The door that we use is the best in the world. The gate that that leads to our premises is the best gate in the world. It has the highest security component. But how does that address the issue that data that is supposed to be here is found on the street of Abuja? You should be asking yourself, if we have the highest security architecture, we should be asking ourselves, how did those data make their way to those websites? They are not authorized. Right. And it is shocking. It's not a case of you have a few data. You have data, that's why they say the Anyverify. You can verify anybody's data. As long as they have a NIN with the National Identity Management Commission, you will be able to get their NIN slip that has home address, including of public officials. All right, Mr. With the way there is poverty, hunger in Nigeria today. Okay, I'm with you.
Pardon me. Absolutely. So that means the president's information you can get it for 100 naira, or at least at that point you could have gotten it for 100 naira on that website. The vice president.
That's what it means.
The Senate president and the rest.
That's what it means.
Well, as you said, NIMC in that response said that the commission's infrastructure meets the stringent ISO 27001-2013 Information Security Management System Standard, with annual recertification and strict compliance with the Nigeria Data Protection Law. NIMC also, referenced some other websites, idfinder.com.ng, verify.ng, championtech.com.ng, trustyonline.com, and of course Anyverify. But a lot of people remember that this started with Express Verify some months ago, and it looked like nothing significant was done. And I just wanted to paint the picture saying that the president's information is there, the vice president's information is there. If we don't want to say, okay, everyday Nigerians matter, but understanding that you can actually get the information of anybody as high as the president should hit, at least should get this message to hit home. For a lot of people, they're saying, so what can I do? I have trusted these people. I have made myself vulnerable to them. See where it has ended me. Anybody can get my information. I mean, think about it, for 100 naira. You can't even buy a drink for 100 naira, literally, but you can get the information of somebody for 100 naira. So for those Nigerians who feel vulnerable, who feel there's been a breach of trust here, and it's diabolical, I must say, what options are available to us?
Yeah, so when it comes to data protection and security, I think the first, there are different layers of responsibility. There is also what we call individual responsibility. In other words, as an individual, you also have to be very deliberate in terms of protecting yourself. But the data breach that we are speaking about, there is to be honest, there is nothing an individual could have done in that context, because you gave your data to government and you trusted that government was going to be able to protect those data. This type of breach, because there are other type of breaches. For example, the one with the loan shark was also very, very common. In that one, it's about individual responsibility, because if you didn't approach the loan sharks, if you didn't give them access to the contacts on your phone, they will not have those information. But in this case, you are totally powerless in the process. It's the people that are supposed to be custodian of those data that have failed in their responsibility to protect those data. And I must quickly add that this is a national level conversation. It's an ecosystem level conversation. That's why I said this is beyond NIMC. This is not just about NIMC. There is a culture of data abuse in Nigeria. There is a culture of data impunity in Nigeria, and every single data custodian is potentially guilty of this, not just even from the side of government, including from the side of private actors. But our own responsibility as a civil society organization is to hold government accountable, so that if government is held accountable, they can demonstrate and show leadership in how some of these things should be done. And let me quickly also add that, as a matter of fact, when the Express Verify case happened, we reached out to all concerned entities. We didn't make noise of it. We didn't go to the press about it, because we trusted that they would do the right thing and address it. But when nothing significant has been done, and we found out that there is another entity doing the same thing, then we thought that it is better if we make this public, so that everybody will be alerted and know that we have a national emergency regarding data governance in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the Data Protection Commission is barely a year old, and I have it on good authority that there is even no budget for that commission for 2024. How does a commission protect us from things like this, where it is not even funded or resourced to be able to perform that responsibility? And I hope this experience will be an opportunity for us to address this concern, and also to empower the entities such as NIMC, such as Data Protection Commission, or other entities that are responsible for protecting our data, because there is clearly a lack of awareness, a lack of understanding of what needs to be done. You had referenced in your question, you had referenced the fact that, can you please just give me 30 seconds to land? You had referenced NIMC's. Yeah, thank you. You had referenced NIMC's statement regarding how they have the highest standard of certification, ISO certification. And I say to you that our strength is defined by the weakest link amongst us. You can have the highest certification, but if you don't have the right data culture practices, if there are individuals within your organization who don't know that data of Nigeria is not something that should be operating in the open market, then there is a big problem. It's not about just getting some international certification. It's the culture that we have encouraged over the years, whereby somebody feels so confident to advertise and sell the data of Nigeria in the open market without any fear, without any consequences. These are the issues that we need to interrogate, not grandstanding about what level of certification we have.
It's mind-boggling, I must say. But I'm glad we're talking about this at the very highest level. Let's be clear now, who are those who are either remotely, directly responsible in this case? We're not indicting anybody, and if we are, Absolutely, because something needs to be done. But who are those people? Who are those MDAs that are either directly, indirectly, remotely responsible that we need to be asking those questions from?
All right. So for in this context, that will be all the MDAs that have asked Nigerians at one time or the other to provide data, especially biometric data. So in that case, we are looking at the Nigeria Immigration. We are looking at the CBN, Nigeria Immigration, that's for international passport. CBN, that's for BVN. We are looking at INEC, that's for the PVC. Of course, we are looking at NIMC, that's for the NIN. We are looking at which other organization? I mean, just all these organizations that have asked you to provide biometric data at one point or the other. But I also need to clarify between what we call foundational and functional identity. So there are some of those institutions that have collected from us what we call functional identity information. So functional is, information that were collected to provide us services like banking services, immigration services, even the PVCs, for example. But there are the foundational ones like NIMC, and I think that's why there's a lot of heat on NIMC, because foundational identity is literally who you are. It's your identity, is who you are. If somebody committed a crime with that identity and somehow was able to use maybe your fingerprint data and leave it on the crime scene, that crime will be traced to you. It won't matter whether you did it or not, because it is a foundational identity. If your ATM card was used to commit a crime, you might be able to prove that, oh, somebody stole my ATM card and used it. But if your foundational identity is used to commit a crime, there is no escaping for you. You cannot escape it, because that thing is traced to your entire existence. So these organizations or these institutions are very important, but I think NIMC is the most important of all of them, and probably the National Population Commission. But because the National Population Commission is yet to conduct census using digital or biometric data, well, we are not really paying attention to them. But NIMC is the foundational identity custodian. And I honestly think our advocacy is not focused on making NIMC look bad. Our advocacy is focused in ensuring that NIMC rise up to the occasion and do its job as adequately as it should do it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adeboye Adegoke. He's the Senior Manager, Grants and Programs Strategy Paradigm Initiative. Thank you so much for your time on the morning brief, and I hope that all the MDAs and everyone involved should take this matter very seriously, because giving out data is not an option, should not be an option. Nigerians should not be vulnerable and suffer for things like this. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll go on a very short break, but we have more for you on the morning brief, so stay where you are.